A dance between light and shadow. The wind howled, shaking the trees on the mountainside, as the sky above began to fill with the delicate hues of dawn. Lyra pulled her dark blue cloak tighter around her shoulders, her silver hair slipping out from beneath her hood as she approached the lone cottage nestled within the forest. The cottage, small and humble, was known to be a place where weary travelers could find warmth during the harsher seasons. Lyra knocked on the door, hoping the host would allow her to rest for a while. When the door opened, a kind-looking man with warm eyes smiled at her. "Come in," he said, his voice gentle against the howling wind. "Thank you," Lyra said, stepping into the warmth. "I won't stay long. I just need to rest until nightfall." The man frowned slightly. "It's too cold to be traveling at night. You should stay the night here. We have an extra room." Lyra shook her head. "I can't. I must leave before the sun sets." The man looked confused, but didn't press further. Lyra moved toward the fire, unfastening the intricate silver clasp at her throat, letting her cloak fall to the floor. She sat on the wooden stool by the hearth, her gaze fixed on the horizon outside the window. The first rays of sunlight began to stretch across the sky. The host busied himself with preparing tea, though he didn't offer her any after her earlier refusal. Curiosity gnawed at him. "What brings you here in such weather?" he asked, taking a seat nearby. Lyra turned to face him, her blue eyes shimmering in the glow of the fire. "There are forces in this world beyond our understanding," she began softly. "But none so powerful or so elusive as love." She turned back to the window, watching the sun's ascent. "I have traveled long and far, across lands and skies, in search of something, someone. She is always there, always burning so brightly for others, yet so distant from me. I can never reach her, though I love her with all my heart. She sustains so much life, and yet, I fear she will never know I exist." Lyra's voice softened. "She will never know my love." The host listened, captivated. "Why can't you tell her?" Lyra smiled sadly. "Because to do so would risk everything. She must not know, for if she were to turn her gaze toward me, if she were to see me, I fear it would cause destruction. Her light is too powerful, her presence too overwhelming. So I remain in the shadows, watching her from afar. I come here only to rest during the day, to hide from her." The host had no response. He watched her gaze out the window as the sun climbed higher, its golden rays casting long shadows through the room. Lyra remained quiet, lost in her thoughts, until the day slowly slipped toward dusk. True to her word, she rose, pulling her cloak around her slender frame. "I thank you for your kindness," she said with a gentle smile, and before the host could protest, she was gone, vanishing into the twilight. That night, just as darkness fully settled over the forest, there was another knock at the door. The host opened it to find a young woman with fiery red hair spilling from the hood of her deep maroon cloak. Her skin was dark, a warm contrast to the cold outside, and her eyes gleamed with a quiet intensity. "I need shelter for the night," she said with a smile. "But I must leave before dawn." The host, remembering Lyra's words, couldn't help but wonder at the oddity. He welcomed her in, offering her the same hospitality as before. She declined food and drink, instead settling by the fire where she gazed out the same window Lyra had stared through earlier. The moon had risen, casting a silver glow over the trees. "What brings you here?" the host asked once again, feeling a strange sense of déjà vu. The woman sighed, her voice soft but filled with longing. "I've been searching for something my entire life, something I cannot name. I have found many things, lost many things, but still I search. And tonight, I think I found it." She glanced at the host, her deep brown eyes filled with an unspoken depth. "I found her. She is radiant, beyond anything I have ever seen. She embraced me, held me close, and in that moment, I felt whole. But I know I cannot have her. Not fully. Not without risking everything I hold dear. The host's heart ached for the woman, though he didn't understand why. There was something strange, something celestial about both these women who had passed through his cottage in the span of a single day. The woman smiled wistfully. I will wait for her. I will love her from afar, and perhaps in time, we will meet again. But for now, I must keep my distance. As the night wore on, the woman's vibrant red hair seemed to lose some of its luster, dimming like embers after a fire. She bid the host good night, and by the time he awoke in the morning, she too was gone. Over the next few weeks, both women returned regularly, Lyra at dawn, leaving before dusk, and the woman with red hair, arriving at nightfall and leaving before sunrise. They never met, though the host began to piece together their stories, realizing that these two women were connected in a way he couldn't fully comprehend. One day, during the heart of spring, something remarkable happened. As the host tended to his chores outside, the sky darkened. He looked up to see the sun slowly being swallowed by the moon in a rare and beautiful eclipse. In the eerie twilight, the host felt a strange sense of peace and awe. The two lights, so distant yet so bound to each other, had finally met. That evening, both women returned to the cottage, one after the other. Lyra arrived first, her silver hair singed and her blue eyes brighter than ever. She spoke with a new sense of joy. I held her, she said softly. I held her, and for a moment, all was perfect. The second woman came at nightfall, her vibrant energy tempered but glowing with the warmth of newfound love. I found what I was looking for, she said simply. I will wait for her, always. And so the sun and the moon, forever chasing each other across the sky, found their brief moments of connection, their love burning quietly, eternally, even as the world spun on beneath them. The host, left with only their parting words and notes, watched the skies from his cottage, forever changed by the love that had graced his hearth. And that, dear reader, is how the sun fell in love with the moon.